You ever seen a Porsche stripped to its bones at sunrise with an HOA president howling like she just saw her kingdom fall? Because let me tell you, I have, and somehow I was the one holding the coffee, not the wrench. And before you wonder, no, I didn't break a single law. I just played the game better than she did. That morning, I leaned on my porch rail, coffee in hand, while neighbors casually gathered with their mugs, all pretending not to stare. There it was, Eleanor's Porsche, her pride and joy up on jack stands, wheels stacked neatly beside my garage, mirrors tucked away, windshield propped by my mailbox. Every piece removed like a surgeon doing a jigsaw puzzle. Not a scratch anywhere, just disassembled. And Eleanor, there she was pacing, shrieking threats about the board and the police, her voice rattling window panes. I sipped my coffee and called down, "Morning, Eleanor. Looks like your parking privileges have expired." Yeah, that's how far things had gone. How do you get from a woman parking a little too close to your house to a full-blown parking war where someone's luxury car ends up in pieces? Well, pull up a chair. Because if you've ever lived under the thumb of an HOA, you probably already know it's always the quiet ones who snap last. I moved here more than 20 years ago with my wife Marlene. She loved this neighborhood, the old oaks reaching across the street, the way the morning sounded like the birds were arguing over who got the best worm. That house was her dream, and when she passed, I kept it just the way she left it. Roses beside the mailbox, an old bird bath she found at a flea market, and a driveway paved with stones, her idea because asphalt looks sad, Marcus. That driveway? It's sacred ground to me. The last big project we did together. Maybe that sounds silly, but you'd be amazed how many memories get pressed into stone if you live long enough. For years, the HOA was just old folks swapping gardening tips, grumbling about lawnmowers keeping things nice. Then Eleanor rolled in black Porsche sunglasses the size of TV screens, heels so high I worried for the curb. She came in swinging, voice full of Fortune 500 energy, clipboard flashing like a badge. At first I figured she'd flame out. People like that usually do. But then came the letters. The first one a warning for my old Chevy truck half out the garage while I was restoring it. Not blocking the sidewalk, not leaking oil, just giving myself room to work. Apparently that was unsightly automotive work visible from the street. Her words, not mine. Next was a note about my recycling bin being too visible. Then a thread about my shutters fading by approximately 6%. She even sent one about my grass being inconsistent in height. You know you're living in a sitcom when your neighbor tries to quantify your lawn. But I kept my cool. That's how I was raised. Be polite, be steady, pick your battles. I let it roll off, mostly because up until then none of it was personal. Then one golden August morning I stepped outside and saw her Porsche parked so close to my driveway it took a three-point turn worthy of a stunt driver just to get out. Her curb wide open, her driveway empty, guest spots plenty. She chose my driveway on purpose. So I did the neighborly thing, walked over, knocked on her door. She answered, smoothie in hand, already annoyed. "That's common area parking, Marcus," she said, like she was explaining geometry to a goldfish. Perfectly legal. She wouldn't budge, wouldn't even move her car a foot. Next morning, same spot. Next day again. By day 3, she didn't even bother to open the door, just barked at me through the intercom. "It's legal parking. Don't bother me again." And that's when I realized this wasn't forgetfulness. It was a power play. She wanted to show me she ran the block now. If you've ever had a real Karen in your neighborhood, you know what I mean. They don't care about rules, they care about winning, about making you feel small. But I'm not built that way. You can't push me out of my own home. That morning I felt something shift. Not anger, anger's messy. No, it was cold, clear, surgical. She wanted to play games with parking. She had no idea who she was up against. I'm old, but I know tools and I know how to follow rules better than any clipboard warrior. For weeks it became routine. Every morning there she was, Porsche gleaming arrogance, practically steaming off the hood. I tried one more time, left a polite note under her wiper. She balled it up and stuffed it in my mailbox. That was it. The line had been crossed. The neighbors saw it too. Old Mr. Patterson whispered, "Woman's got no shame." Mrs. Klein confided, "She's been bullying everyone since she became president, but no one wants to speak up." Turns out the whole neighborhood was just waiting for someone to push back. One morning, after nearly clipping her bumper again, I marched over and knocked. She opened the door just enough to block it with her body. "You're blocking my driveway again, Eleanor. Please move your car." She just smirked, pointed to my old Chevy and said, "Maybe if you kept your property tidier, we wouldn't have these problems." That truck was my wife's favorite. Hearing it called an eyesore stung. I asked one more time and she slammed the door. So I called the police. The officer, young and polite, shrugged. "She's not blocking your driveway by law, sir. Just close to it. It's an HOA matter." Eleanor poured on the sugar for the officer and the next morning parked even closer. Took it to the board at the monthly meeting. Walked in and realized she'd gotten there first, already waving complaints about my house, my truck, my recycling, my shutters. When I brought up her Porsche, she dismissed it. Legal parking. He's blowing it out of proportion. A couple of the board nodded, but Mr. Patterson spoke up. "I've seen it. Every day. It's getting out of hand." She shut him down with a look that could cut glass. That night I went home feeling helpless, not because I was losing, but because I was playing by her rules and she didn't care about rules. But here's the thing about bullies, they never think you'll outlast them. So I started documenting. Photos, videos, timestamps, every morning. I kept a blue binder neat and thorough. I called tow trucks, none wanted to get in the middle of an HOA fight. One finally came, but when Eleanor stormed out in curlers threatening lawsuits, the driver unhooked the car and left. She gloated, "You won't win this. You should stop embarrassing yourself." I realized then I had to change the game. That night I pored over city ordinances, HOA, bylaws, state property statutes. And there it was, rules about repeated obstruction, nuisance vehicles, rights of property owners to abate hazards, rules about harassment by board members. It was all there, vague but clear enough. And nowhere did it say how you had to abate a nuisance. I put together a letter, official, formal, with citations and warnings, mailed it certified, laminated a copy for my binder, waited. For 2 days her Porsche didn't appear. I almost thought she'd back down. Then Monday morning she parked right up to my driveway, closer than ever, locked eyes with me through the blinds, smirked and walked away. That night I waited until every house was dark, until even the streetlights seemed to hum with anticipation. Rolled out my toolbox, checked my tools twice, made sure every step was by the book. At 2:14 a.m., I got to work. Wheels off, mirrors, off, battery out, windshield removed, careful, perfect, legal. Everything stacked safely beside my garage. By sunrise, that Porsche looked like a luxury car waiting to be shipped in parts. And when Eleanor saw it, oh, you've never heard shrieking until you've heard a dethroned HOA president at dawn. She howled, threatened, called the police. The officers arrived, the same two as before. I handed them the binder, the letter, the photos, the signed receipt. The officer flipped through the evidence, looked at Eleanor and said, "Ma'am, this is a civil matter." He acted within his rights under property abatement statutes. Neighbors stifled laughs. Eleanor screamed, "You're done, old man." But the police drove off. That was just the beginning. She sued me for $500,000 property destruction, emotional distress, deprivation of HOA power. My lawyer, sharp as a tack, dry as toast, laughed, reading the file. "We're not just going to defend you, Mr. Jones. We're going to crush them." She subpoenaed records. Found Eleanor was waiving her own fines, charging expenses to the HOA, issuing citations without board approval. When the board realized they could get sued, they panicked. Emergency meetings. Confrontations. Someone shouted, "Well, maybe don't park your Porsche in front of it every morning, genius." The whole room erupted. Lawsuit withdrawn. Eleanor voted out. Forced to write a public apology. Fined for misusing funds. Banned from giving out citations. Her house was empty within months. You'd think it would end there? Karma, right? But no. The Porsche, fully repaired, came back from the dealership, but she refused to pay. The dealership repossessed it. I watched the tow truck haul it away, while Eleanor watched through the window, silent, defeated. Soon enough, a for sale sign appeared in her yard. She left without a word. The air felt lighter. Kids played in the street. Neighbors started talking again. The new family baked me cookies and planted roses by the mailbox, just like Marlene used to. And me, I sit on my porch most mornings, coffee in hand, the sun rising over clean pavers, driveway, clear, peace restored. Sometimes I think about that whole saga, the binder full of evidence, the late-night wrench work, the shrieking, the lawsuit. Was it worth it? I look at my driveway and I hear my wife's voice. "Clean lines, Marcus. Everything in its proper place." And I know, yeah, it was. Because it wasn't about a car or a title or winning. It was about standing your ground, protecting the things that matter, and sometimes teaching a bully the difference between power and respect. Let me ask you, Have you ever had to deal with a Karen and H, OA tyrant, or a neighbor who pushed you too far? What did you do? Did you fight back or just let it go? Share your story below. I read every single one. And if you like seeing justice served with a side of poetic payback, stick around. Because sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys really do win.